Hello, everyone, and welcome to another one of our fun interview special episodes of the SWW show. I'm Mike. Today, with me, a special guest. Could you please tell me your name and the game we're here to talk about?
Hi there, everybody. My name is Matias, and I'm the developer of Evans Remains. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks, Mike, for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. Your game actually really caught my eye, and then just for full transparency too, they were kind enough to provide us with some code so we could go ahead and play the game ahead of time, so we understand kind of what we're going into. So let's start maybe a little bit with your background, if you don't mind, kind of, because like you're probably a developer not everyone's heard of.
Yeah, sure. I started this game like more than 2 years, I believe. I started doing a demo, a small demo that took me about a year, and I did that outside my daily job, and I uploaded to itch. I was looking for a publisher at that time, and I ended up meeting Whitehorn Digital, which they are my current publisher right now. And after that, we decided to partner and make a Kickstarter, and then it was another full year and a little bit more, and now the game is finally close to release, so we did it.
But say that's just getting basically to the finish line, because they were talking a couple days for release. That's impressive enough, because how many things never make it to the finish line, or like stuff just gets haywire?
Yeah, exactly. That was really weird because it's not my first game, because I did several games in the past, but it is my first commercial game, and even though the game is actually a really small indie game, it was the biggest project that I ever done before. So I was kind of amazed to have reached every deadline, because I honestly thought that that wasn't possible, but we did it on time. Yeah.
So just to clarify then, on this game, Evans Remains, are you the only developer, or do you have some people helping you out?
I did have some people helping me from time to time. I did it like, let's say, 80% myself, and I had some friends and colleagues that helped me from time to time to doing some animations here and there, or fixing some bugs, or I don't know, some backgrounds. Like I had little glimpses of help, let's say. Of course, I had the huge help of my publisher, who helped me with marketing, some funding, press, a lot of stuff. So yeah, it wasn't just me doing this. It was made possible by a lot of people.
Yeah, I feel like that's a thing that people, especially like, because you always have those indies who are like, I want to do it all by myself, everything, and then they realize what marketing looks like, and they all go, oh no.
Yeah, it's, yeah, I will never do a game again completely alone. I mean, I didn't do this alone, but nevertheless, it was like really hard. I'm sure my next thing will be at least with someone else helping me like full time if I can afford it. Let's say, let's see how the game does with the first, but I will just think twice before jumping on something like this again, completely alone, quote unquote. If you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So I think now that we've kind of talked around it, let's jump straight into the game. So the game, as we talked about, is Evans Remains. How do you describe this game? Would you describe it as like a puzzle game, or?
Yeah, I would describe it as a puzzle game, as a heavy story-driven puzzle game, with like a really mysterious narrative, because that was like the intention from the start. It's always hard to describe it, but yeah, I think it's a half puzzle game, half kind of visual novel, although it really isn't exactly, but I like to call it like that. But yeah, it's like half puzzle, half a lot of story.
Yeah, so one of the things that interests me about him is, so like, I ended up playing last night, I think, for the first hour-ish of the game, and one of the things that impressed me is, at no point do I find your puzzles, like, obnoxiously hard, which is a compliment, because I don't like puzzles that are, like, I feel like are obtuse, like, but they do make me stop and think, probably, for, like, maybe, like, a couple minutes, being like, how do I solve this? Like, it's that nice, initial nice balance of, like, no, I have to stop and figure this out, but it's at no point do I feel like I'm gonna, like, just run away rage quitting.
That's so cool, yeah, because I didn't want them to be like really hard, like really mind blowing logic puzzles. Although there are a few of them that are hard, but like the majority of them are really easy, and you can skip them. So I like to believe it never really gets really hard. So that's good to know.
I did notice that too. I do find that interesting that because mechanically your game is the story part and then these puzzles, and I find it interesting that you let the player skip basically the puzzle part if they want to.
Yeah, but you also can also skip the dialogue part. There's also an option to skip the fast forward all the dialogue, so you can skip the whole game and not do anything at all and beat the game.
So I'm curious then, why that decision point? Do you let them? Do you just basically being like, I made an access, I guess, 2 individual games, and you're letting the player decide which of them they play, or like, why did you go down that thought process?
Yeah, it was exactly like that because at first I didn't even consider that as a possibility. But something weird that happened with this game is how it actually attracts both kind of players that come from really different sides. Because from one side you have like the puzzle lover kind of guy that if you put a lot of text or dialogue in front of them, there are some of them that really liked it, but there are others that just hate it, and there are the other ones that really like these kind of story-heavy games, but they are not too fan of puzzles. So I just thought, and we thought it with our publisher, why don't we just, I don't know, if you don't like the puzzles, just skip the puzzles, and just want to enjoy the story, just enjoy the story, and vice versa, So people like, there are some players that love the mix, but there are others that just can't stand or the puzzles or the story, so I just say, just skip it if you don't like it. It's okay.
Okay. Again, that was just one of those decisions that, like, immediately I was like, oh, that's a very unique choice, because I thought it just feels like the puzzles to me feel foundationally as a good way to break up the pacing of, like, okay, here's the small chunk of dialogue, go to a puzzle. It's kind of like, that way it's not just the same thing over and over and over again. And I find it interesting if there were the players who instead are like, no, I want to just do the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, you'd be surprised, but that was exactly the reason why we decided to do that, because there were actually players, not a lot of them, but there were players that like they just love puzzles and they want just to solve one puzzle after another puzzle, and that's it. They don't want anything else. So that option is kind of for that kind of players.
So going through the puzzles, I was taking through some notes and thinking about stuff. So I'm curious, because there are 2 things that stuck to me, like game inspirations that in different ways the puzzles feel like, and I'm curious kind of if I was close to that or other games might inspire you. And the 2 to me were, in different ways, Tomb Raider, and that's more of the theming, and then Guacamelee, I feel like the puzzles kind of felt like, in the idea of like what the puzzles you're doing and the way they kind of go throughout the game.
Yeah, there was some other people that thought that I also got inspiration from those, but actually no, I didn't. The puzzle were actually more inspired by games like The Witness or Portal or several other puzzle games that I was kind of researching at the moment. But yeah, I think the 2 most... and Legend of Zelda also. I think those 3 would be like the biggest inspiration, at least in terms of puzzle,
Mm-hmm. So, I know we keep hoping this, but I have this foundation part of the game. Did you at any point in development have the puzzles a ton harder, and then you ran it through playtesters, and they go, oh, I can't do this? Or has it always been about this level of balance?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
No, so throughout development, obviously games change, and I'm curious, was there a moment where the puzzles were also these a lot harder of puzzles, and you had to scale them back, or was it always about this level of difficulty?
Yeah, that happened a lot. I mean, because something strange that always happens when I design, I think it happens to every game developer, because you are the one designing it and you are playing it and testing it all the time. It's not that hard for you, but then you kind of put it in front of some random player and you find out that it's extremely harder than you thought it was. So you have to scale it down, and it happens almost, at least to me, it happens a lot of times. So yeah, I had to scale down a lot of times the difficulty.
Because we were talking about too, you wanted something more this difficulty level too, right? You didn't want it to be the puzzles that will make people break their computer?
No, no, I really don't. I mean, I just want to have a challenge that, like you said, just make you think like for 5 minutes and you solve it and that's it. Go on. I don't want you to have you here 3 hours.
Perfect. One of the other things I noticed the entire time, and I want to comment on you on it, and maybe you brought people in, or maybe you did it, was I really like the like music and little sound effects throughout the environment of like with the note I had here. So it's like I think it's a half hour into the game. It's the first time you go into this like you see it in the screenshots that you released too of like this green area where like someone's in someone's house. And I really like background music at that point.
Thanks. Yeah. The music was made. The majority was made by me, but I had a talented colleague that also helped me doing some nice tracks as well. Like, you know, the main theme of the game that plays in the trailer and every promotional video. It was made by him. It's an amazing track, and almost all the sound design was made by him. So that's he really did a really good job there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't ready for that.
I'm curious, kind of, was it then you just kind of said roughly like, here's the sound I wanted, or is it kind of like, was there like, because a lot of it feels, especially like when that scene I mentioned too, it's like a little more like techno-y or electronic, which I thought was a very interesting choice.
Yeah, it's a really nice style that sound designer proposed, because we both of us really like Fez, for example, and what Fez does is like every little sound, it has like an effect called Beat Crusher, which kind of makes every sound like a bit, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, it doesn't sound like completely natural or organic. It gives it that feeling of chiptune or whatever, and almost every effect on the game has that effect, and I think it sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's definitely a very unique. I think it's definitely a choice that I think stands out. Is one of that's why I write it down. Because I'm like, oh, this is just so different.
That's good to know, because you know, it's I always feel like the game isn't actually unique enough because it's a puzzle platformer, you know, and people are just tired of that kind of game. So it feels nice to at least from the side of the sound design to have something unique.
Which is funny. I find that interesting that people don't, that you think it looks generic-ish. There are moments I can at least understand why I think there are things that look similar to it, but I think you have a certain style, or like the example of like your water reflection system. It's like there's certain things that are happen there where I'm like, I find that interesting. That's the thought process that you have.
Oh, that's really good, really cool. Thanks. Yeah, I think it's because I stared it for so long that I just can't see what is unique about it. But it makes me feel good because yeah, I sometimes think that just because it's a puzzle platformer game, it's kind of people see that, and I feel like oh, like yeah, they have seen this 100 times before, you know.
Mm-hmm. So I think now is a good time, and we're not going to spoil it. We're going to keep kind of generic on it on purpose, though. So like the focus on this game, as you've talked about a lot of times, is the story. And basically you're someone's sister named Evan. So Evan's you're looking for, and you have to go through this abandoned island. Where did this inspiration of a story come from?
Well, that's kind of hard because it didn't come from any particular inspiration, but rather it came from a lot of different sources. But mainly, I always really loved games like the series Escape series, Ace Attorney, or games like that had a really I don't know, mystery always was a main theme in those games, and I really wanted to make something that had kind of that feeling, you know. I wasn't sure how I was going to achieve that, but I just kind of forced my way through it and tried to get something with that kind of taste, if that makes any sense. But I got inspiration from a lot of sources. I mean, I don't recall them, but yeah, it was kind of like trying things out and just like seeing where the story would take me.
Mm-hmm. No, that's interesting. And I think also, I think the story foundationally, at least the setting, is kind of like why I got like the Tomb Raider inspiration partially from 2, because obviously like deserted island, weird
Yeah,
adventure. So then as you kind of, we talk about then, you have this coming out in a couple of days. And I'm curious kind of, since this is probably one of the last times that like this, like I'll get to speak to you like before it comes out. How do you feel going through this process now? Do you feel you're going to be doing a lot more commercial games of this size? Do you want to start growing bigger into bigger games, or?
You mean after this one?
Yeah, after this game, since it comes out in a couple days.
I really want to make like another game, and I want to make a bigger game and a more like with more with a more twisted mechanic, a more interesting like original one, if you know what I mean. And I do want to make I want to make another game, yeah, like this one, but like bigger and different in some. But I really don't know how. I mean, I'm just thinking stuff. I'm not sure about anything. I'm just thinking. I like all my attention right now is in this game. I wanted to go out and let's see how well it does, and from there I will think what my next move would be.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. Also, I gotta ask, because I've been talking to everyone during this COVID fun times. How much has since obviously you released this game now in June, and like obviously logically you had the expectation to be able to go to places like GDC or major conventions kind of going into this. How much has this changed the marketing for the game?
Well, it changed a lot of things. It was a funny thing because we were about to go to I was about to go to GDC and I was the game was chosen to be in the Indie Mega booth, which was really cool. And I was going to be there, but just immediately after that, this whole thing just happened, and everything was being shut down and canceled. And it was like at first it was a bummer, but then an interesting opportunity happened, which Steam like partnered with the guys from Indie Mega booth, and they decided to make like an online event to compensate like the losses from the ones that couldn't go to GDC.
Mm-hmm.
And they organized the Spring Festival. I don't know if you heard about that. That happened on Steam. It was like they took all the games that were going to be on Indie Mega booth, and they just put it on some section in the front store page of Steam, which was really cool because it drove a lot of traffic to the game, and the game gained like more wish list than I ever expected it to have. So that was like it generated another cool opportunity. This thing about the pandemic and the COVID and everything. So, and besides that, it didn't change that much. I mean, I always worked from home, so and it seems like people is still consuming games no matter what. So it seems, I don't know still, but it seems like it doesn't affect us too much. But let's see. I don't know.
Okay, perfect. So let's see if we could get you your final couple wish lists or sales of the game, kind of going into it. So the game is Evans Remains. Am I right to say you're coming out on like every major platform?
Yep, that's right. It's coming out on PC, Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One.
Are you doing all of the porting, or is that one of those like publisher support things?
I was just in charge of making the PC version, and my publisher did a really good job on porting the game to all the consoles. They've done that in the past, and they're really good at it. So I have to thank them for that. It was really cool.
I was going to say, because otherwise I can only imagine you get zero sleep if you're in charge of porting to everything all at once.
Yeah, I don't think that's humanly possible. I mean, that's not really possible. Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, so the game is Evans Remains. It is $7 in.
Yeah, $7. I think it also changes depending on where you located in the world. But yeah, around it's $7.
So it's $7 translate your local equivalency because VAT taxes and Steam and currencies and all that fun nonsense.
Yeah.
And the game, as we're talking, it comes out on June 11th, which is a Thursday. And then is it that is true everywhere, or is it the major days for the major consoles?
No, it comes out on every platform.
Perfect. So June.
So yeah, yeah.
Final thing, I gotta ask you, how much sleep are you getting right now?
No, enough. I mean, even though release, it's kind of getting really busy, I still manage to sleep pretty well. I mean, like if I don't sleep well, I can't do anything. So I always prioritize that. So it's not a problem,
I gotta admit that is impressive because we all have heard all of the stories. Or my joke's always, I don't know how familiar you are with, like, there's the no-clip documentaries and they show, like, the Witcher guy over the years. And it shows just the director of The Witcher and it's, like, every single game you see him age, like, 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, sorry?
No, go on.
No, just a fun note. I have like a lot more. How do you say those white hairs that pop up?
Yeah, gray hairs just appear everywhere.
Yeah, I have like a lot of them right now, and I didn't have this much. So I think I just aged like 10 years or something.
Yep, that is the problem of being a game developer. You're like, I started this. I had a full head of hair, and now I have gray tufts left. But look, I made a game.
Yeah.
Just don't hit that button. It's gonna break.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Perfect. Well, again, thanks for sitting down and talking to me right before release, which obviously is the actual stressful job for you. Again, so everyone's aware, the game is Evans Remains on every major platform, coming out on June 11th, somewhere around the $7 mark in your local equivalent. And everything else can be found, is it just on whitehorndigital.com/Evans Remains, or do you have an Evans Remains page itself they go to?
Oh, that's the page.
Okay. The page. So yeah, otherwise if you go to Whitehorn Digital's website, you can find Evans Remains there, which is their publisher, and all of the details linked to that, anything I would have missed of where to find the game. Again, thanks for joining me, Matthias.
Thanks to you, Mike, for having me here. I had a really good time, so thanks.
Yep. This podcast was a production of the SWW Show. To learn more, go to theswwshow.com. Remember, you can follow the show on Twitter at the SWW Show. You can follow me at Mikey_Maroney. You can follow AJ at LowSeatBoy. Remember, new episodes premiere on Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time on anchor.fm/SWW and podcast services around the globe.